Get ready, Earth 2 pioneers, farming is on its way. And while it might be starting small, I believe it has the potential to be one of the biggest features for the platform. Now, let's talk about why Earth 2 needs to take farming seriously. So, if you haven't heard, Earth 2's Chapter 3 is bringing garden beds and seed collecting. From what we know so far, it sounds pretty basic. One garden bed per tile, a watering can, and you need to water the seeds until they grow. But don't let that simplicity fool you. This is a huge step. I have no doubt tons of the community have played games like Farmville, Stardew Valley, and even the recent hit Grow a Garden. There's also no end to the players outside of the Earth 2 community who love a good fix of gardening inside the game. We can hopefully grab a part of the tens of millions of players who enjoy this daily. So, why do I think it should be taken seriously? Well, as I've just mentioned, there's a lot of players in the gardening and farming sims. But it's not just that. It's the first complete game loop inside of E2v1. At least the first with real purpose anyway. Collecting items and foraging is cool and all, but we're collecting items to stay alive. However, the only reason we're dying is because we're playing. Farming breaks that cycle. It's no longer about just staying alive, but collecting garden beds, seeds, and expanding your grow area. It will be the first building within Earth 2. It will be the first area we see expanding and being more productive the more work we put in. In my opinion, it will be the first real feel-good factor inside of E2v1. And getting the reward of those crops after the work you've put in my opinion, will be really rewarding. Now, although gardening and garden beds are going to start basic, I have no doubt Earth 2 likely do have plans on upgrades and expansions on that. This is just how I personally feel things should go from the onset. Now, I'm not super keen on the one garden bed per tile. I completely get that it's a way of adding utility and desirability to larger plots. That's great, we do need that, but having to space your beds one per plot would just make maintenance a nightmare. Having to run from one tile to the next and the next and the next to water your garden beds and harvest the crops would be a major buzzkill for anyone who likes to use their farm to switch off and relax. Now, anyone who's into raiding knows the issues with usability on the website now. Having to scroll down from the duel section to the slotting section, which is off screen, having to sort through pages of properties with CDs to dispense or send out a raid where the pages change as you move from one to another, meaning you miss some. Usability previously doesn't seem to have been given top priority when it comes to website features, and I really hope we start to see that change inside of E2v1. Usability keeps players coming back, it increases enjoyment and helps players switch off and get lost in the game. Now, I'm not just complaining, I do have a few suggestions as to how we can improve it. Option 1. Still limit the number of garden beds by the number of tiles on the plot, but allow us to have the garden beds closer together, rather than one bed per plot. For instance, if it's a 100 tile plot, maybe we want those 100 garden beds in the corner of say 5 or 10 tiles to give us easy access, speeding up watering and harvesting, but also allowing space for other activities, or maybe even eventually farm upgrades like barns or processing equipment or livestock. Option 2. Upgradable beds. Now, we have only seen one image of the garden beds. These little square things, E2 could potentially make them upgradable, allowing us to change the shape or size, allowing more crops and larger area coverage, maybe even to the point where it almost takes up a full tile. This sort of coverage would make one bed per plot no issue at all. Now again, I legit don't know what the team have planned for farming inside Earth 2. They might already have huge expansion plans, or they might want to keep this a simple feature as part of survival mode. But here's a few additional features that I would love to see it eventually progress to. Automated irrigation and harvesting, giving us the option to automate watering and picking of crops. The watering could again be an upgradable system, hose pipes or sprinkler systems that could get larger and expand with areas, or we could even go down the civilian or sidroid route. Imagine tasking some of the unnamed side droids, or even a new kind of civilian, to look after and harvest your crops. Now, I would also love to see ground crops directly sown, rather than everything being in beds. Full tile selections of say wheat or potatoes. We could even see greenhouses or polytunnels, allowing crops in areas that wouldn't usually grow, or reducing growing times. This would allow us to truly get large scale farms, allowing farming and food to be a fully functioning industry inside of Earth 2. Food for the players who don't want to have to hunt and scavenge themselves, and food for the civilians instead of red energy. Maybe even expanding into livestock or fish farms in our freshwater ponds. A full pond if you own the whole area, or netted off areas if you only own a section of a pond, giving real utility to freshwater tiles. Now, it could even be a decent earner for Earth 2. Not only would they get a cut of the market transactions for food, but they could offer things like skins for garden beds, helping to fit in with a player's desired theme, such as older style plots for the Vikings or the Knight communities, or something more modern and sleek for the more futuristic megacities. Skins for gardening tools, and maybe even some farming style attire. Now, this is a very basic overview of how it could play out, how I would potentially love to see it play out, but there's so much more that could be added. If the farming aspect did well, from new crops to new animals to animal feed growing, dedicated farm equipment such as tractors or the equivalent in side droids, but I don't know, maybe the intention is to keep it a simple feature. What do you guys think? Would you like to see farming become a major industry inside of Earth 2? Or would it just be a distraction from the overall goal of a metaverse? Am I just getting caught up and carried away with one of the early features after almost 5 years of wanting to jump in and play? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're not super keen on farming, what industries would you like to see emerge within Earth 2? Is there a certain area you could see yourself specialising in if it drops inside E2v1? What's your kind of playstyle? Peace out, and a huge thank you to all my Patreons for sticking with me through these slow Earth 2 times.